Lesson 14, Solutions to Inequalities. So we're going to think about some solutions we get for inequalities. Our ICANs are, I can determine if a particular number is a solution to an inequality. I can explain what it means for a number to be a solution to an inequality, and I can graph the solutions to an inequality on a number line. So make sure you have your ICANs, today's date, page number, and you are ready. All right, so let's use some unknowns with a number line. All right, so we got a few points here listed. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at these inequality statements here and see if we can plug in some stuff. And, you know, if you think about it, you can actually do lots of things. So if I put B is greater than C, does that work? No, because if we've got D as 0, we can see C is to the right of B, so it actually needs to be flip-flopped. Again, you could do a lot of different ones. What about a less than statement that would work here? What if I put like E? What could I put that is greater than E? Yeah, the only one that's greater than E is F, isn't it? And I could have put, in this one, if I had put F, I could have put all the letters, right? And if I'd put A here, I could have put all the other letters as well. The thing is, it's just a matter of making sure that whatever you put as less than the other, or in this situation, greater than the other, that whatever that little inequality is pointing to is smaller than what it's open to. Remember I used to teach it with alligators, but I'm sure your teachers used something way back when you first learned this in like first grade and kindergarten. Jada says she found 3 possible different ways to complete the first question correctly. Is there more than one way? Oh my goodness, there's plenty of ways. You could have had C was greater than B, B is greater than A, D is greater than C, D is greater than B, D is greater than A, E is greater than D, E is great, all of those. We won't go through and do the possible numbers here, but generally, E and F have to be what type of numbers? Yeah, they're going to be positive numbers, right? Comparing, because to the right of 0 is positive. So that means that all the rest of these, A, B, and C, have to be negative. To me, it looks like this is -1, -2, and that's like -2, that's -4, or +2 and +4. But, you really could plug in a lot of different things there. So we're not going to go through all that in this video. Amusement park rides. Oh, I would like to be there right now. Solution to an inequality. So let's jot this down real quick. Solution to an inequality is a number that can be used in the place of a variable to make the inequality true. And this is similar to what we talked about with equations and putting in letters in those as well. As long as it makes it true, then it works. So like here, 5 is one of the possible solutions, right? But you really could put anything as long as it's, they have 9 and 9/10. That's still less than 10. You'd have -4, 0, -1 million. I mean, it could go on and on and on and still make this true. All right, let's do a little thinking here. What about if I did something like this? We've got Priya finds height measurements for some rides at an amusement park. For the high bounce, you have to be between 55 and 72 inches. Climathon, you have to be under 60 inches. And Twirlo coaster must be at least 58 inches. So what's that going to look like for the inequality for each of these. For the high bounce, you're talking about the height must be less than 72 inches, but the height also needs to be greater than 55 inches. You can do something similar to, let me rewrite this real quick, hang on. You can also do this where you kind of pile all these things up, where you have like the H in the middle, and that we know that that 55 needs to be less than H, but H also needs to be less than 72. So this is something that you'll start seeing, is where you can have these inequalities kind of pile up together. It's something that you're going to start talking about, especially when we get further into algebra. What's that going to look like on a number line? Yeah, we'll just pick a spot that we say is 55, and that it has to be something that goes in between. Let me retry this. So we'll put our 55 here, and whoops, based on the counting, it looks like that all the way goes to the end and makes 72. So we're talking about something that will go in between, like so, because there's a certain minimum and maximum requirement. What about the climathon? Yeah, here the height has to be less than 60 inches. Or you could write it the other way around, that, you've got 60 inches is greater than the height. Either one work. So in this situation, if we still kind of use what we have from above, that's 55 still. Let's say that's a 60. We can put an arrow, right? Because there's no endpoint to it. I mean, obviously you've got to physically be able to get on the thing, but it can be anywhere less than 60. What about the twirler coaster? Yeah, so here 58 is a minimum. Or you could do that 58 is less than H, or you could do that H is greater than 58. And that's going to start you, right around here and draw all the way over. Again, talking about the same sort of things as what we did before. All right, so if Priya can ride the climathon, which you have to be under 60 inches, but cannot ride the high bounce or the twirlo coaster, which of these following could be her height? Well, the only one is here, right? Because for the climathon, you had to be under 60 inches. For the other rides, you had to be at least 55 inches to ride, right? The high bounce, you had to be at least 55 inches to 72 inches. And the twirler coaster, you had to be a minimum of 58 inches. So, since this is more than 55 and this is more than 58, the only one of them that falls outside those ranges is a 53 makes sense. Jade is 56 inches tall. Which ones can she ride? Yeah, so she can go on the climathon and the high bounce, because the high bounce has a 55-inch minimum. What about Kieran? Yeah, climathon's probably going to be coming out of the going to be a little bit difficult, because that's right at that maximum height. So Kieran actually could ride every one of them, but wouldn't be able to ride the climathon for long. Inequalities, H is less than 75 and H is greater than 64. represent height restrictions in inches of another ride. What are some other ways that we could, what are 3 other solutions we could use for both of these? What 3 values could we use? So something that was less than 75 but greater than 64, you could do 65. You could do 70, 72. What about 84? It's greater than 64, but it's not less than 75, so that wouldn't work. Yeah, really any number from 65 to 74 would work fine, right? And you actually could do where it equaled those, because those said the same height. And, eventually you're going to see this notation where you've got a line underneath that, which means here means less than or equal to. But that's not terminology that we're going to be quite digging into yet, but some of you may know it already. All right, so solution to an inequality is something that you can plug in for the variable and still make it true. Some ways to find solutions to an inequality: you can use number lines, you can use subtraction, addition. It just depends on what you're looking for. How many solutions are there for an inequality for the high bounce? How many possible heights could possibly ride the high bounce? Well, there's quite a few different possibilities, right? Anywhere from 55 to 72. So you're talking about, 17 different possibilities in there? 18 possibilities? All right, what is a situation where a quantity can take on a range of values? Just like we talked about here, we're talking about heights, or that you have to have, a minimum or maximum number of coins in a video game before you can continue on. Decide on a variable, and we're not going to do that right now. That you could do that as much as I'd like to see them. Are maximum and minimum included in the range of possible values of the variable? So, like if you did a variable, you would have to have with your inequality some sort of maximum and minimum, right? And you may just have a maximum, you may just have a minimum. Talking about like what we did before, like let's say you had to be at least 36 inches to ride a certain ride, or that you couldn't be more than 78 inches to ride another type of ride. You had to find at least 4 of the keys before you can continue on to the next level. Lots of different ways to think about inequalities and how they can be on all kinds of different things throughout your daily life. But we need to dig into that more in the cool down and such, so you need to go do your practice, and we will visit more later. Hey, thanks for hanging in.